Okay, we are talking today, Walk Stars, about the intricacies of life, lessons, gratitude, what we've learned on our walks this past week. What else, Libby?
I think what we've learned is that actually every single walk, something comes up that has the opportunity to teach us a lesson. And that's in part what is so joyous and beautiful about this practice is that no two walks are the same, and there is an opportunity to see and learn something in each one.
Yeah, so enjoy, guys, and let us know what you're walking through this season over at This Morning Walk's Instagram. Enjoy.
Bye.
Blind Nil Audio.
I'm Alex L.
I'm Libby Delana. Welcome
to This Morning Walk podcast.
Good morning, Alex.
Hey, Libby. Sorry, I'm chewing.
What are you eating? What are you eating?
I'm eating some type of grainy toast, which is really good with hummus, caramelized onion hummus. I
Oh,
was
oh.
starved, so
I was
thanks for bearing
starved
with
this
me.
morning too. I feel like I don't know when we go from winter to spring, it's like my whole body's waking up. I think I basically ate all day yesterday. Ate
Well,
everything.
I do intermittent fasting, so
Nice.
I had a crazy fun bike ride yesterday on the Peloton, and then I went to bed. So I woke
Right.
up this morning like, feed me,
Hungry. More
hungry.
food.
Yeah, so
Literally, I went to the grocery store. Not a good idea to go to the grocery store. Well, maybe a great idea actually. I don't know why I
no,
say
it's
not a good
never
idea.
a good idea to go to the grocery store hungry because then you buy all this food that you're not going to eat.
Correct. Correct. But then I did eat it.
Oh,
So
good.
But you
Yeah,
and I have talked about this. It's really hard to buy food for one person, to be perfectly honest.
I
Everything,
know.
my gosh, just
We
yeah.
can't eat
So
it all.
food,
I mean, buying food for five, sometimes I forget, like, oh, that was in the back of the fridge.
right? I know, and I feel
It's so
terrible throwing it
wasteful.
out.
Me
It's so
too. I just threw out a whole thing of Siggy's yogurt unopened that expired last month. And I was like, dang, I meant to use that. And those things are expensive. It's like
they are
$7.
expensive. You know what I love
Uh,
when you come to visit me. When you come to visit.
y'all, when I have to clean out
You don't need to reveal everything. I mean, okay, go ahead, go ahead. I
when I
mean,
have to
it's
clean
just
out Libby's fridge, she's like, oh, I forgot that was in there. She was like, I can't eat it all. And it's so true. I mean, it's just you. It's okay because I'm going to come write my book from your house and then it'll be the two of us.
yeah, well then it'll be easy enough. I mean, I don't know if it's easier for two, but at least I don't know. Yeah, you were so funny one morning. You were like standing at the refrigerator. Yeah, you kind of turned around, you lowered your eyes, and it was as if you had glasses on. You were looking over the top of your eyes, like, "Girl, you need to figure this out." And you're right. You're 100% right. I don't know. I'm still buying as if I'm feeding a family. I'm not.
Well, as long as
In
you have
any
friends
case.
like me who will go through your fridge,
Right, exactly. So
that's all you
now
need.
I don't even worry about it because I know you're going to be here soon and my fridge will be cleaned out. So okay, so let's talk about you and I had a text exchange a few days ago, where you sent me a beautiful picture of some flowers.
Yeah,
Remember
my
you were talking
daffodil.
your
Yeah.
daffodil and the micro and the macro and looking at the detail and then making sure you see the whole picture. I mean,
Mm.
yeah. Tell me what you were thinking. I, I, I know, I think I know exactly what you're feeling, and it's a powerful lesson that comes for me that came from going for a walk and noticing.
So I took a really up close photo of a daffodil. We'll put it on This Morning Walk or in the link in the description. And I didn't know the iPhone could get that up close. So I didn't use my camera. It was from my iPhone, and I just got the center of the beautiful flower, and I was thinking to myself, wow, like zooming in, we can see all the little things that make this flower a flower. Oftentimes when we are zoomed out,
Yeah.
we can't, I mean, clearly we can't pay attention to the detail, right? But in that moment, it felt like an invitation to zoom into my life and really pay close attention to the details in my life, to the relationships in my life, to how I'm raising my kids, to how much I've healed, just the layers and the complexity of Alex as a woman, so that when I zoom out, I can really appreciate where I am today.
Mm.
And, it's so interesting when I'm on these walks, I don't go out with any thing in mind, right?
Right.
I
Yeah.
just saw a flower and then it's like, oh, let's analyze this.
Right.
And um yeah, that's what came to mind. Like, wow, zooming in, we can really see up close and personal. And when we take a step back, then we're able to appreciate what we saw when we were up close. It's so many layers to life, to being a human, to nature, to our healing, to our grief, to our joy and successes. And stopping to do that more often in our own personal lives, not just when we're out and we see a beautiful flower, right?
Mm.
Could be just a good teacher.
He was a good teacher. And remember when you sent that over thinking, um, we have to notice the details. We have to. And we
Hmm.
also have to notice the big picture and,
Hmm.
sort of recognize what's happening in the bigger picture. For me, I think I've always sort of felt on going for a walk. I've shared this with you, which is early on, what I realized was that my walk was this teacher in teaching me how to literally see things, not just look at it
Hmm.
and note it, but really see it. And I think that's what we're saying, which is to notice the vibrancy of anything, a tree, a barn, to really not just look at it and note it and recognize it and identify it as something, but to really
Hmm.
see it. And that my teacher with that was this one barn that I go past often on my walks. And now, having walked past it essentially for 12 years,
Mm.
she's aged. She's a little bit more overgrown. And I remember at one point thinking, "Oh my gosh, I'm learning so much from this one barn." And what I'm learning is she was probably the center of the community's. I mean, it's probably where all the dairy production that fed the community.
Mm.
So she
Hmm.
had this vital place. I don't know why I'm anthropomorphizing her into female, but this barn, I'm sure, had at some point a really vibrant um, space within the community. It was, again, it potentially fed the community. And now it's become more, it's not as essential or it's not as
Mm.
vibrant, but it still remains. And
Mm.
I remember thinking, oh gosh, I used to just drive past this barn and note, oh, there's the barn, the sun's out on it, and never really understand kind of the essence of what it provided, the details of what it meant to a community. And I
Mm.
think for me that my walk has taught me how to really see and not just look at something. And I think maybe that's sort of parallel to what you're saying is on this walk, you really, really saw the detail of this flower, the things that made it.
Hmm.
Um, and then in the context of the bigger picture, its role in that space.
Hmm. Yeah, and how things make us, you
Yeah,
know, just the peeling back of those layers. And I feel like you wrote about the barn in Magnolia, didn't you?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that story from when I picked up the magazine a couple years ago and read about you for the first time. I was like, that's so cool. And now here we are.
And now here we are, and you're going to be moving in a few months, which is, I mean, think about that.
Can't wait.
The issue is though, you're going to become a cold plunger.
No,
You
I'm
better
not.
watch. You better watch out.
Absolutely not. Not
No,
getting
why
me to
would you
do
say
that.
no? Who knows? It could
Mm-mm,
be an incredible thing.
mm-mm, mm-mm.
Uh-uh. Uh, yeah,
I will
yeah. I'm
stand
not
on
going to
the
take.
side and warm the tea for you guys. And when you come out, here, girls, warm up.
Okay. I mean, we're going to start there, but we'll see. I don't. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna.
Oh my God,
I don't
Libby,
know.
no. No, please don't. Please don't make me.
Please don't. What if I said, in order for you to come stay here and write your book, That's a requirement. Okay, so
That's terrible.
it is terrible. It is terrible. Correct. You are correct. Correct.
Oh, you
You
might
can.
have a chance there, though. You
Well, no, you come and do whatever the heck you want,
might.
including cleaning up my fridge. Okay, so what else? What else is going on?
What else is going on? New book things. So
What can
my
you
new
tell us?
book is gonna go to auction soon, and I have some feels about it. Um, but I have some feels mainly because I love my current editor.
Mm-hmm.
Deep, deep love her deep.
I love her too, by the way.
And she's so good. She's just a wonderful woman.
Mm-hmm.
Adds so much to my life. And the idea of not being with her is really hard for me. And I didn't think that it would be this hard, but it is really challenging to like process. Um, so I'm just taking things day by day, trying to stay excited about the new book and also like honor that if I end up somewhere else, like how am I going to process and grieve not being where I am, you know? And um that's tough. That's challenging. That's tough. It's a part of the book. This is a part of the job. It's a part of the book world. It's a part of publishing. But it's hard to have to make a decision to go somewhere else. It's really hard. Like the letting go, the change,
Yeah.
the unknown. It's hard to say it's time to go. And that I
Yeah.
think that goes
Yeah.
for everything, like not just work, but
Yeah.
when a relationship it has come to a close, a romantic one, or when a friendship is ending, or when it's time to move on from that job, or
Yeah.
it's just hard. Letting go is hard, and I'm in a season now where there's a lot of shifts happening in my life, in my career, in really beautiful ways, and there's still a lot of grief that comes along with that. There's still a lot of grief that comes along with changing for the better. Um, like just in my own personal healing journey. I was talking to a friend the other day and I was just like, I'm in this season of I really need things to be easy right now. I don't, especially when it comes to my friendships. I think we talked about this briefly in another episode or maybe in depth, I don't know, but this has been kind of a center point for me this season is I don't have capacity and space for my relationships to be contentious or unsure or uncertain, and making peace with like some people are just not going to be able to come with me in this next chapter, and to be okay with that even if it's really hard. And so and this what I'm saying now is not in relation to work or books or anything like that, just in relation to my own personal like connections with people, and um or disconnection, like honoring the
Yeah.
disconnection and not trying to force things that need to be freed. Like that's what I mean by hard. Like I just don't have it in me to like work hard at a relationship that isn't easy, the continuing to invest time and energy in a place that is disintegrating. And so there's a lot of shifts happening professionally, personally, and just trying to honor the shifts, honor the grief, and honor the joy because there's joy too, so yeah. How about with you?
Well, first, before we move on, I remember asking you um, that I was unsure what it meant to go to auction,
Mhm.
um, and that that's an interesting. I mean, I don't know that much about the book publishing world. You've helped educate me, and that's an interesting process. Sounds
Mhm.
like
Essentially people are bidding on your book,
on your book,
which is like an eBay bid for publishers. I mean, it's not like on eBay, duh, but
right?
um it's like, "Oh, I have X." And then the agent will say, "Well, someone else offered X. If you really want the book, you got to come up." Like it's that. And so
Yeah,
it's actually pretty exciting, but
pretty
it's not
interesting.
exciting when you're already where you want to be.
Yes,
But it's time to grow, and it's just I don't
Yeah.
want to talk about it. It makes me
Yeah,
sad.
that's fine. Can you share at all what your next book's going to be about, just in general?
It's going to be about creating safe winning circles in our life.
Mm,
So, relationships essentially,
yeah.
about friendships, about romantic relationships, about familial relationships, and paying close attention to who needs to be in our winning circle, who can be in our winning circle, and
Yes.
who can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. It dovetails with our conversation that our previous
Mm-hmm.
podcast, I think, Walking into Dreams, right? It's like, who can we
Mm-hmm.
share the excitement and dreams with, because they hold it as dear as we do, and we hold their dreams as cherished and, beautifully as they do. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
how does one create a winning circle?
I'm going to keep that to myself because that has to go in the book. But you guys will
Perfect.
get
Yes.
the deets, how I've created my winning circles.
Yeah,
And
that's
the
great.
hard and how hard as hell it is to do that.
Yeah.
um yeah, so more soon, but that's the premise of the book.
It's the world needs it. So
Hmm.
please do come up here and move in and start writing whenever you like.
I will. Trust me. Ryan was like, you need to go to Libby's house and get to it.
Get to it. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm double down on the Wi-Fi, so we can both be on the Wi-Fi and not have anything slow down. And then, yeah, well, it'll be easier to eat because the food in our fridge will be there too, rather than one.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for this conversation. I adore you.
Me too. I adore you, but you didn't answer my question.
Oh, snap. Um, thought I was gonna sneak
before
on
you
out.
before you can sneak out.
I know. Let's see what's going on with me. So I've had these gosh darn mother trucking headaches, too many
Mm,
headaches for the last several months. I mean,
I
yeah,
didn't know it was
bad.
several months.
I know, bad headaches. So, my wonderful and dearest mermaid friends, and I call them my mermaid friends because we all get in the cold water together. um Basically at one point, and it was so loving, they're like, uh-huh, and we're done with hearing that you have a headache. We're done.
Mm-hmm.
Not about us, that we're done. We want you to be done. And so here's what we're thinking. I wasn't getting much traction with my PCP, blah blah blah.
Yeah, yeah.
And so they sort of said, okay, we live outside Boston where, there's incredible hospitals and so on. We think you ought to go into the ER and just, sort of escalate this, because it's not like you to stay in bed all morning because your head hurts so much, which
Mm-hmm.
is correct.
Mm-hmm.
And they were 100% right. And I think my pause to do that was, it's totally fear based, right? Like all of a
Yeah.
sudden, the narratives in my head started telling me all sorts of stories, and they were not very comfortable headaches. So they basically, we got on the phone. They said, okay, so here's the deal. We would like you to go into Mass General ER. I happen to know Mass General really well. That's another whole podcast. But so they said, we'll come with you. You tell us when you want to go, and we'll either pick you up, we'll get in the car, we'll hold your hand, we'll bring cute snacks, we'll
There's
bring.
your winning circle.
There's the winning circle. Yeah, and they were like, yeah, we're we need to check this out. So I finally picked a day. One morning, I
Mm-hmm.
wake up a godly early hour. I was like, okay, that's it. I'm getting in the car. I'm driving into Boston. I'm going to the ER. And I decided, and this is, I think it's perhaps a flaw of mine. I'm like, I don't want to bother them. So I drove in by myself and went to the ER. No surprise there. I was actually fine and went through the whole process, and CAT scans, this and that, which were thankfully clear and all that kind of good stuff. And I don't mean to make light of it. I feel incredibly grateful. I'm still on the
Mm,
track though to figure out what these headaches are. And
mm-hmm.
so what it really brought up to the surface for me was just like falling to my knees, gratitude for good health.
Mm,
Er, and I do not take it for granted. And I've spent a lot of time on my walks since this sort of the clear CAT scan, which is fabulous, and now sort of down another path, but really thinking about the incredible privilege to be able to go for a walk every day,
Yeah.
to be physically primarily really well at age 62. And I don't know that age really matters, but I'm definitely entering a time period when some of my peers, that's not, 60 is an
Mhm.
interesting place where
Mhm.
things in our bodies start to shift. So I really spent these last few days, honestly, just sort of overwhelmed with just gratitude for my fucking body and
Mhm.
how what it's I mean, birthing two children, right? And I'm more interested in sort of what's happening with menopause. When we think about the woman's
Mm.
body going through all these dramatic, big hormonal shifts in our lives,
Yeah.
and not really talked about in a meaningful way. I think that's coming to the fore more now.
Mm.
But I just really I went for a really long walk yesterday. It was probably 2.5 hours. And that's all I thought about was the
Mm.
gratitude I had for every little darn toe on my foot, every organ that was functioning. You know, you and I have talked about breath work. I was like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, the way my body is functioning, I
Mm.
really, really grateful. And yeah, I think so. That's what's going on for me, is just a chapter right now of a deep, deep gratitude for my well-being, and I do not take any of it for granted. That's
Mm.
for sure. So
Mm.
that's where I am.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. And now on to figuring out what these headaches
What
are.
the issue is. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that comes next. So yeah, that's my moment right now.
Mm. I love that.
Mhm.
I'm glad the CAT scan was clear. I remember I was putting up a lot of good energy for you. Um, Hoping all would be well, all would be clear, and it was.
Yes, I felt it. And
Mm.
that I guess, to loop back to the affection of the people, back to a winning circle, right? Like, to have those friends, to have you. I knew you were right on the other end of the phone if I needed to pick up the phone and say I'm terrified or whatever, and to
Mhm.
know who those people are who will say, okay,
Mhm.
it's 4:30 in the morning, sure, I'll get in the car with you, no problem, I'll make a cup of tea,
Mm.
let's roll.
Mhm.
Or,
Mhm.
I don't have any hesitation of thinking about picking up the phone and ringing you and saying, and I'm grateful that I have a number of people like that in my life, and we know
Me
who they
too.
are, and they're precious, absolutely precious.
Deeply. Deeply.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, Fred.
All right, love.
Love you. Talk to you later.
I love you too. Have a good cup of tea and a nice walk.
Will do.
Okay.
This Morning Walk is a production of Blind Nil Audio, hosted by me, Alex L.
And me, Libby Delana. Produced and edited by Chris Jacobs.
If you find value and meaning in the conversations that Libby and I have, please share the show with a friend and consider leaving a 5-star review. Comments on Apple Podcasts really help us out. When you do that, it introduces this show to a bigger audience. Thank you so much for listening.
You are wonderful. Have a great walk.
The views, information, or opinions expressed in this series are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of Chip and Joanna Gaines, Blind Nil Audio, nor Magnolia.